Hello and welcome back. I'm Steve Clemons, editor-at-large of The Hill. Thank you for joining us for the final session of Work Redefined, our summit on the present and future of work, or as my guest from MIT said, the work in the future. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Nokia, Qualcomm, and Philip Morris International for their support of today's program. Earlier today, we heard from members of Congress, from mayors, workforce and workplace experts on the almost seismic changes that have come to define how and where we work today. Over the next hour and a half, knowing what we know in this moment, we're going to attempt to make reasonable predictions about the workforce of the future and the skills that will be in demand. We're going to hear from smart folks who make a living thinking about how other people will be making their living in the future. How's that for a deep thought? Before we get underway, a few housekeeping notes. You can tweet us at @TheHillEvents using the hashtag #TheHillWork. We are broadcasting live and we'll be taking your questions throughout the program. And if you experience any trouble with the live stream, just refresh the page. That'll make it totally great. Employment and skills training has been the singular focus of my first guest since before the coronavirus pandemic pulled the rug out from under our feet. John Pallasch is the Assistant Secretary of the Employment and Training Administration at the Department of Labor. John, it's great to be with you. Thank you so much. I know that one of the primary focuses of your efforts right now is broadening apprenticeships in America. And I know the Trump administration is committed to 1 million new apprenticeships in the United States by September of 2021. Tell us how that's going. And I'm just going to be candid. Why do we have to push so hard for apprenticeships? They make so much sense.
Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And you're right, apprenticeships do make sense. And that's one of the things that we've struggled with is understanding why the uptake of the model isn't greater than we had hoped. Earlier today, the department announced the first round of what are called standard recognition entities, which are the entities under our new industry recognition, will begin recognizing a new form of apprentice. An industry-recognized apprentice. So growing on the success of the registered program, we're really looking to expand apprentices across non-traditional occupations and underrepresented populations so that we can meet and exceed the million new apprentices goal that you're talking about. So that's been a huge push of the department. I'll be with the Secretary of Labor later this week. Kicking off one of those SREs down in Fairfax, Virginia, and we're really excited about the things that are happening with apprenticeships and where we're going. We started a new marketing campaign. There's a lot of movement in apprenticeship because, as you mentioned, it's a model that's proven. We know that the retention rate is around 94%. We know that the average salary is around $70,000. So it's really exciting for us to be at the forefront of pushing that model and making sure that we can expand it and grow it.
I should mention, John, to our audience that we have a great picture of you there. It's a little frozen, but your sound is great, so don't worry. But let me kind of go, a step further, because we've been talking earlier today on whether America needs to experiment with new models of credentialing, new models of experience, that many of the traditional, degrees are distant for a lot of folks in the country. And I know that you've been thinking about that. And, for a lot of folks, this is novel. And for me, it's like so obvious. Why aren't we creating many more pathways to credentialing, particularly with people, who need a second chance in their lives or need to get closer to the real jobs, And so can you give us a little bit of your roadmap about how you're looking at our credentialing challenges and whether education needs to be disrupted in America?
Absolutely. We've been talking with our friends at the Department of Education about just that. Well, what are the multiple pathways? What are the alternative pathways that individuals to enter the workforce? So one of the things earlier this year, there was an executive order focusing on skills and competencies rather than on degrees. So how do we move away from this idea of the only way to seed our economy is to have a four-year degree and move to a hiring model, based hiring model that really focuses on what skills does it have, and the public must be tuned to the needs to know what those skills are, to know what those competencies are, so that we can better deliver the needs that are moving forward for all employers. So we're very focused on this idea of multiple alternative ways to enter the workforce. It doesn't just have to be through a four-year degree, it can be through a credential program, it can be through an apprenticeship program, it can be through a number of avenues. And we want to make sure we're exploring and using all of those the same way we want to explore all possible apprenticeship models to bring people into the workforce.
John, our sound is not great, but I'm going to try one more question with you. I know that you worked in the state of Kentucky as well, and one of the production sites that I was so impressed with, it happens to be Chinese owned now, but it's GE Appliances. GE Appliances is, making all sorts of productions down in Louisville, Kentucky, and they have woven in data and Internet of Things and, processing, and they have trained their pool of labor, and they've added thousands of new jobs. So it's one of the cases where I've seen technology and jobs coming together, and kind of, for your dishwashers and, all sorts of other fascinating appliances, where that seeming, zero-sum game between technology and jobs is going in the positive direction, not a negative one. I'm wondering if, in your experience, when it's coming to training and building in, upskilling workers so that they can work, with heavy data, Internet of Things, the connectivity of stuff in the future, whether that's been a priority for you.
We talk about the future of work, and people want a brand of artificial intelligence and automation and how it's going to put individuals out of work. And we see it very much differently. We see those things impacting everybody's job. We see a theory of destruction, how we can grow the economy. We can grow jobs through the use of technology, through the use of data, and just that prior to today, didn't necessarily rely upon technology, didn't rely upon automation. So that absolutely something as we're looking at the workforce of the future. How do we use automation? How do we use technology? How do we use better data to grow the economy, to grow the skill sets of individuals, so that the economy can really bounce back, that we all would like to see it to pre-COVID levels?
Well, John, I think we're going to leave it there for now. Assistant Secretary of Labor, John Pallasch, we really appreciate your time and thinking on this. I want to have you back. I mean, you're making, a kind of a real time experiment of something that we've been trying to talk about today, is that, in our complicated connection right here, it's still wobbly. Everybody's been shoved onto these kind of interactions. We're not in a brick and mortar room. We're talking to lots of people, but I think we got out most of your message, and we're very grateful for your time today.
I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you very much.